Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars, welcome to another PlayStation 4 review. Today's review is for Agatha Christie, the ABC Murders. Now this game was released several years ago on the PlayStation 4 and it's a game I've had in my library for quite some time. Now I personally am a big fan of these fairly relaxed, chilled out detective style games. I love the Sherlock Holmes games. I have reviewed already on the channel the Sherlock Holmes The Devil's Daughter. I am looking or aiming to review in the coming weeks Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishment. I just really like detective style games. LA Noire is one of my favourite games of all time, and the main reason for that is the detective element of that game, and I think that is probably the best detective game I've ever played on any console. Me personally, in regards to my favourite detectives, Sherlock Holmes has to be number one, but I don't mind Poirot. And this game, when I first got it several years ago on the PlayStation 4, I remember I played a couple of the investigations, and essentially you play as Poirot and his friend. I can't remember his name now. And you are investigating a series of murders by a killer who signs the murders with like ABC, so which is why it's called the ABC Killer, if you like. So you've got to do like I think it's 5 cases. I seem to remember being 5 cases. And essentially you've got to go to these crime scenes, and if you've played these sort of point and click adventure type games before, this is like a cross between the Broken Sword games and a Sherlock Holmes game, is the best way I could describe it. If you've played like classic point and click adventure games, and you've played like the Sherlock Holmes detective games, you'll feel immediately comfortable here. Now, essentially you'll go to a scene, and you've got a few options when you get to this scene. You can talk to characters, you can get clues from these characters by interviewing them. You walk around the environment, you will look for clues at an environment, you will observe people, very much like the Sherlock Holmes game if you've played those before. You know, you'll make observations of people, so you can determine what kind of person they are, etc, etc. Get clues by interviewing them, going around the scene looking for clues, and then you will kind of deduce and put these clues together again. And I keep referring back to it, if you've played the Sherlock Holmes games where you make your deductions, where you tie clues together, again this will feel immediately comfortable. This film is not really subtle in its similarities to Sherlock Holmes games that you may or may not have played on the PlayStation 4. I think this does it particularly well, if I'm being particularly honest here. I mean, it's a very, very nice and relaxed game to play. I love these sort of games. I'm at the age now where I generally like to play games and be chilled out with them. You know, to take my time with them and challenge mentally as well. However, I mean, this game has a number of puzzles in it. Mind-bending puzzles, I would like to say. I mean, some of the Sherlock Holmes puzzles that you play in those games can be pretty difficult. Some of them in this game are like, unless you're like Stephen Hawking or some kind of genius, you're going to really, really struggle with. I found myself more than once having to look at a YouTube video to get through the puzzles on this game. That's my only major criticism of this game, is some of the puzzles that they give you to solve. They're just not logical. You know, trying to work your brain in a logical way to try and solve these puzzles, and you just can't do it. There are other issues with the game in the sense of you can't progress on to the next scene until you've solved the last scene, if that makes sense. And there's one scene in particular, and it's actually the crime that we're looking at here. I think it's the second one or the third crime, and you're on a beach. I thought I'd done everything, and I could not figure out how to progress on. I thought I'd solved all the clues, made all the deductions I needed to, found everything in the scene, and I ended up again looking on YouTube for trying to find out where I'd gone wrong, and I hadn't gone wrong. The main problem I had done is I hadn't let, when you observe and look at a clue, he'll do like some voiceover in his head to talk about the clue, but you can skip it. And this one particular one, I think it was a picture, and I skipped the dialogue. And because I skipped that dialogue, it didn't click in to the next scene, if that makes sense. And the next scene was I was supposed to walk up and talk to a character, and it would have progressed the scene on, but it wouldn't do that until I let it finish what he was saying in that cutscene. So my question is, why give you the option to skip if it's going to effectively stop you progressing in the game? The slow pace will definitely not be for everyone here. I mean, terribly slow pace. If that's not your sort of thing, slow pace games, detective games, brain, twisted games that you've got to really work your brain to play them, it's not really going to be for you, this one. But I think it's really a nicely put together game. Excellent voice casting here. You do feel like you're in a Poirot episode or a Poirot film. Very nicely put together, some really fantastic voice acting, and I think the aesthetics of the game as well are particularly nice. It's got this real, almost like a cartoony cell shaded look to it that really works. I think like I say, it's not always clear what you need to do to progress. And I play a lot of point and click adventure games, and I have done over the years. I love them. I've always loved them. The Broken Sword games, Monkey Island games, and then cross that with the detective elements like the Sherlock Holmes and this. I'm in hog heaven, generally speaking. I just think these games are really nice and relaxed to play. And this is no different, but it's definitely not going to be for everyone, this sort of thing, because it can be quite a frustrating game to play, and which is a real shame. I think this game is just below that level of getting to great or very good. There's too many niggling issues with it, like I say. Why give you the option to skip if it's going to stop your progression in the game? Some of the puzzles I think are a little bit too hard. And it's not always clear what you need to do in a scene, where you need to go. So it doesn't hold your hand, this game, so be prepared for that. But it is a nicely put together point and click stroke detective adventure game. So I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. It's a fun game and I have enjoyed it. And if it's your sort of game, I'm sure you will too. So thanks for watching, everyone.